Hello guys, I'm back from another video, and today we're talking about what if I was in My Hero Academia. So, in the last video, we talked about a certain group that decided to go to Greece, specifically where the supposed place of Atlantis was used to be. In this case, this group is consisting of Shigaraki, Ryuko, Mirio, and finally Nejiri, where they're going to be going to the palace of Emma, aka Neo or N10. So, when they made it there, they basically got attacked, almost got killed by her, and also by her squire, aka Toriko or the butler, and he almost defeated her by distracting her and basically causing her to shoot the wall of the palace, causing water to flow in. When she did, transform into her, shadow form, she more resembles a, simulacrum, Labrys, or, wait for a second, goddamn, or Aigis. As when she did, her persona changes into, Terrarii, instead of its regular form being, Azrael. And when they defeated her, we moved to a little, epilogue or scene where she was talking to Terrarii. Not Terrarii, I meant Toriko, being her squire, as she tells him that she's, after all, the champion of heaven. But there are two others, being the champion of hell and the champion of purgatory. And the champion of hell is going to be the main antagonist of this episode. And her name is Shinjitsu Narukami. You probably know what that last name is if you probably know Persona 5. Or Persona 4. Or any of the Persona games, in fact. So, when she did summon her persona was not hell anymore. As in, the, persona hell. Not, actual hell, as in, the place hell. Instead, it's the persona, Rashkigal. Her brand new persona, after she conquered her, trust issues, I guess. So, that was basically the end of that episode, and so, let's talk about what happens next. So, we move to a different group. And this group consists of All Might, Izumi, and All for One. So, they started going to England, aka London. They made without any hitches, except for a little, incident while they were going there. While they were making it to England, they saw a huge fight. And this fight is, something interesting. When they're about to, land, they got attacked by this large-looking creature that resembles a red dragon. As they see several people with, almost medieval type attire, as they also see that almost all of them literally have, bug-like wings and seem to be almost fairy-like. Sorry about that, the background, somebody's, riding their motorcycle right now, which, seriously. Anyway, so, after they got captured by these people, they were brought to, England's castle, or the Castle of the Queen, which, the Queen is no longer there. Let's just say that. She was, French Revolutioned. As they see her, aka Narukami-san, which I'm just gonna be referring to her now, because Narukami-san sounds more, my style. As she says this: "So, you must be the heroes, or should I say, hero and villains of this world." Wait a minute. I know that green hair over there. As she points at Izumi. As she says this. So, you look like my boss, aka my leader. As one of them would say this. Your leader? What do you mean by that? Says All Might. As All for One is quite interested. As she says this. Oh, my leader, Izuku Midoriya. Or at least our Izuku Midoriya. It seems that yours, or at least your Izuku Midoriya or whatever, seems to be a girl. Nice to meet you then. So, how's it feel to be captured by a quirkless person like me? As she grabs a syringe and starts injecting it into herself. As she says this. Much better. As one of them say this. What was that? As she says this. Well, I'm after all the Knight of Cupiditas. Or Cupiditas. Which means, well, you know, greed in Latin. And I work under Mammon, the leader or the family's head of the Cupiditas corporation or bank, which is a high-paying bank in, well, hell. And I'm its, well, head officer. If anybody tries to steal from them, well, it's my job to take care of that problem. As she grabs a little knife from her little, like, satchel. As she says this. So, you must be 0 for 1 and, what's your name? Oh yeah, douchebag guy. The one that's literally smiling all the time. Like, seriously. Are you tired of smiling? I mean, you literally look like some sort of creep that you would see in a horror movie or something. As, well, Izumi would laugh. As All Might would say this. Why are you doing this? Like, why? As she would say this. Well, allow me to tell you. We hate quirk users. We hate how they believe themselves higher than God. The demons, the monsters, the fairies, and many other species that they believe that they should be erased. Especially me. You don't know how it feels to be quirkless. You don't know how it feels to be tortured and shred apart. But soon you will learn how it feels to be, you know, worthless. Me and my, you know, well, friend, Izuku, we're quite great friends. You know why? Because of our mutual hatred towards quirk users. He especially hates them. You're lucky that you didn't decide to target him, because he would definitely kill you on the spot. Painfully and slowly. But you decide to fight me. Now, let's bring you to the torture chamber. That's where you're going to be staying for now. As she snaps her fingers, as this glob of golden metal, or at least like molten gold appears, as one of them would say this, being 0 for 1. What is that thing? As she says this, meet my squire, Doug Hauser, or the Lord of Gold. Time for you to introduce yourself. As the gold starts moving, as it changes into more of a jester type creature, as he says this. Right, boss. As he grabs them all by grabbing them by using his golden arm, which resembles, well, the Infinity Gauntlet. Let's just say that. As he starts bringing them to a little courtyard, where they see several quirk users being bounded by their legs and knees and being shot at the back of their heads. by these soldiers. These soldiers resemble, wait for a second, samurais from the Edo period, wielding, well, guns. Mostly modern guns, unfortunately. As one of them would say this, "You're gonna be tortured. And then, when you finally beg for death, you're gonna become one of these guys." Says one of the torturemen or whatever. As one of them would say this, "Yeah, you deserve this. After all, you're all high and mighty and shit. That's what you deserve. Deserve to go to hell, where you belong." As he starts leaving, saying, "Alright, it's my lunch break. You take care of them, God." As he says this, "Fine." As he starts smoking a cigarette, as he starts looking and checking the cell for anything that they can, well, escape, being, well, All Might, All for One, and Izumi, as they were bounded by some quirk-canceling handcuffs. So, after, looking around, finding anything for them to try and escape, well, Izumi would grab a hair clip from her little bag, as All for One would use, well, one of his quirks, because only one quirk can be used in, well, if he's bounded by, for say, like, wait for a second, goddammit. When he's being handcuffed by, well, quirk-canceling handcuffs, I meant, he would still have the ability to use one of his weaker quirks. In this case, telekinesis. And so, he uses that and starts breaking them out. And so, they... sorry about that. They escaped undetected. And so, they started going into the sewer system so they can try and escape. When they made it there, it reeks like hell. As they would see the place is being, the place have seen better days. The sewers, specifically. The sewers was disgusting. They see the place is covered with... They smell, they can smell all the, the sewage over the years there. As they hear something disturbing. As they see behind them a little girl. As this little girl starts charging towards them. As they see the face of this, whatever this thing is, it resembles a doll. As it starts jumping around, getting ready to slash at them, as All for One grabs it by the head and, crushes it. As All Might would say this, "Are you crazy? That was a child." As he would see that this thing is not human. It's more machine than anything else, says All for One. That is not human. It's more like a machine. I wonder if this thing is actually... As he looks through this, doll-like creature, they see that the one that's controlling it seems to be this weird-looking parasite. As he crushes it, as it starts reeking of blood and pus. As when he crushes it, basically blood spills everywhere. As he would say this, "All Might, Izumi, let's go." As Izumi would say this, "Right, All for One Sensei." As All Might would say this, "All for One Sensei." As he says this, "Yes, Izumi is my successor. How about your successor, All Might?" As he would say this, "I'm not telling you anything. Let's go." And so, they started leaving. So, after a while of looking around, they see a manhole. As they come out of there, as they see they're in the middle of the streets of London. As they see the streets were covered in this mist, as all for one would start using one of his quirks to check out the air or the smoke, as one of them would say this. Master All for One is, as he would say this place, the air, and the fog in that place seems to be made out of this gaseous version of sulfuric acid. It's better for all of you to start wearing something to cover your nose. And so, they rip off some of their, clothing and cover their noses as they started going through the streets. As they see, a few fairies patrolling the city. Some of them were, wielding spears, swords, bows, and arrows, as they also see black dogs with them. As one of them would say this, "I think we found some quirk users over there, boss." As he would say this, "Now, my Burgess, catch these quirk users. I don't even care if they're, alive or dead. Just catch them." As these Burgess-type dogs, which are fairy dogs, by the way, that's said to, eat children alive. Yeah, that's actually their lore. Apparently, Burgess are black dogs that's said to, eat the flesh of, little children. And so, they started running through the city trying to find them. As All for One and, Izumi, and also All Might, by the way, they started moving away from that little part of the city as they made it to a little park. As everybody, being the little group, started looking around the park trying to find some survivors. As they see the survivors, or at least what's left of them. Some of their bodies were either killed by the gas, or were torn apart by the Burgess, and some of them got, stabbed by the fairies, or got shot by the fairies, or anything else. Izumi would be horrified to see this, even though she hated, the heroes and many other quirk users. Just seeing this just grossed her out. As she would hear something in the distance. "I'm impressed. Seeing you escape, that was impressive. But unfortunately, this is the end of the line." As they look behind them, they see, amidst the fog, was a figure. And this figure was Narukami-sama. Or Narukami-san. As she says this. "That was impressive. Now, allow me to show you my power. The power of a persona." As a glowing blue card appears from the sky, as she crushes it, as she says this, "Persona Amaterasu." As the place was lit alight, as they see the place burning in flames, as she says this, "Amaterasu, burn them alive." As it starts screaming out, as a gigantic-ass sword appears. This gigantic-ass sword that, Amaterasu wields, starts shooting out electricity, as a mirror in her other hand starts shooting out wind, and finally, for her, actual body, it starts shooting out flames, pure white flames out of nowhere. As she says this, "That's impressive, then allow me to show you this." As her little knife starts transforming into a large katana, as she starts cutting down everything on sight. As she says this, "That's actually quite fun. Allow me to show you something else as well." As she says this, "Tenmon Kai Kai." As she says this, "My 7 royal retainers. Burn them alive." As 7 appear, as they started charging towards them, All for One, by using his air cannon, started, blowing them away, but the other 2 appear behind them as they get stabbed well, by 0-for-1's, well, other quirk. But 2 others, well, scraped his knee, basically cutting them off. He literally lost both of his legs, but he starts regenerating. For Izumi, 2 copies of her appear as they started fighting her. She starts using her Dominator's Touch and also her other quirk, as she creates something out of nowhere. In this case, a large, well, black sword, as she says this: "I learned this from Master. I guess it's time for me to finally use its potential." This, as she creates a slash of pure darkness out of nowhere, as, well, Narukami-sama would say this: "She reminds me of an old enemy. An old enemy that I wish that I knew personally. He was quite fun." So, we go into a little flashback. Before she met Lavenza, she was a little kid at the time, as she was being bullied by quirk users, as her parents, Narukami, or Yu Narukami, I should say that, and Naoto Narukami. And that is why I absolutely love this character. The reason why this character is one of my favorites, right next to Izuku and also Lavenza, is because she's the, well, child of my favorite ship in Persona 4. Specifically, in this case, Yu, or Narukami, and, well, Naoto, which they should be shipped, no questions asked. I hate people that ship, well, Narukami and Haru, not Haru, I meant, what's her freaking name? And Rise, because Rise, in my opinion, is the worst girl in Persona 5, I meant Persona 4. Don't at me, don't, like, bully me in the comments just because I hate Rise. I just don't like her. But Naoto, though, it makes sense that they should be shipped together. Don't try and reason with me that Rise should be on the actual ship. No. Naoto should be the ship. Okay, anyway, my little rant is over. She was bullied because she was quirkless. In that world, quirks started manifesting pretty early in their world, basically. As, well, for, Narukami and Naoto, they were also being, discriminated upon because they're also quirkless. Until one day, they were killed in a car accident. As for Narukami, she was devastated. She was put up to adoption, after all. And after a while, she goes on to go into the, TV world, as she gets her persona not by, Lavenza, instead by going into the TV world by accident. Because she heard from her, uncle, what's her name? Her uncle Teddy. Well, Teddy would tell her that she should just go into a little TV world. As when she did, she summoned her persona, Amaterasu, where she defeated some of the shadows that were trying to, kill her. And so became an assassin or a bounty hunter. And after a while of going through some places, like going to England, even Japan. I mean, she did live in Japan, but more specifically Tokyo, and many other places. Well, she was found out by Lavenza and asked if she can be recruited or can join the Infernal Knights. She gladly accepted it, so she can, take her revenge on all of the people that believed that she was weak. Even though they were not the same people as in her world, she didn't really cared. Just as long as as she can, kill them, she would be fine. So, after remembering that little, tidbit of her life, she also remembers her most greatest opponent. A man by the name of, wait for a second, Fujimaru Ritsuka, aka the protagonist of, Fate Grand Order. She was the first opponent that actually beaten her, as she was defeated by her pretty easily. Apparently, Ritsuka, or Gudako, used a sword made by, wait for a second, made by Murasa, as she was defeated by that sword. That sword was her downfall, as she seeks a stronger opponent and more opponents so she can become stronger and finally beat her. So, after remembering that, she says this: "No, I will not lose." As she grabs another, syringe from her bag and starts injecting it into herself and starts stabbing it into, more of her, body. As All Might would say this: "Take this!" As he gets ready to slam her into the ground, saying, "Detroit smash," as he stops, as his hand gets torn to shreds. As, All for One and, Izumi would see this, she would say this: "No, I will not lose. I will not lose ever again." As she starts grabbing several of the syringes and starts injecting herself multiple times, as she says this: "You won't take me out. You won't take my place. I won't lose. I will not be a lower rank." As she says this: "I'm the champion of hell. I will not lose." As her body starts changing, as she more resembles a Japanese samurai, or should I say, a female samurai, as her sword becomes, more of a katana, as her persona changes as well, now changing into Midas. As she says this: "I will not lose my rank in this world. I will not lose my right as the champion of..." As she screams out in pain. As for her persona Midas, it looks like this. Midas would look like a small woman with two, what do you actually call them? They're basically like the Pope versions, or like the holy versions of, a scarf, basically. It also wields a crown. As for the the forehead, it seems to have a wreath similar to a Roman crown, being like the the plant-based ones. It also has long hair, and also seem to have, his hands specifically seem to be covered in gold, molten gold to be precise, as it's standing on a large treasure chest. As she says this: "I will not lose. I will not lose. I cannot lose my rank. You can't take this." As she starts summoning out, several golden items out of nowhere, as she starts throwing it at all of them, as well, she grabs a sword, being her, sword, from earlier, as she starts attacking Izumi specifically, because she resembles, or at least her fighting style resembles, Fujimaru Ritsuka, as she says this: "I won't lose my rank, Fujimaru Ritsuka." As, Izumi would say this: who the heck is Fujimaru, and I'm not her. As she says this: "I will not lose." As DC, being all for one, sees Doug Hauser, as he says this: I guess I'm guessing she's gone insane again. Oh well. As he starts becoming more humanoid, he gains hair and a pretty nice suit, but he's still just like a molten golden monster. As he says this: "Ready to die, Mr. Ulfer, whatever the fuck you call yourself." As his arm becomes a blade that's completely golden. As she says this, being over one, I meant he. Very well, golden man. As they started fighting, during the fight, all for one would get the advantage, because he's just, pure gold. As he would summon, all for one would start creating pure globs of ice, as these globs started solidifying him, as he says this: "God damn it. Ugh. I can't move. What did you do to me?" As he says this: "Is not obvious. I freezed you solid." As he says this: "Don't you dare do..." As he drops a big tub of water, using one of his quirks. As, Doug would become just a statue at this point. As for Narukami, Narukami would start swinging at her randomly, as her persona Midas would start shooting out blast upon blast of pure, golden energy. As she would say this: "Open your chest, Midas. Shoot him down. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care." As it starts opening the chest, as, she would see, gold, as this gold starts wrapping around her, as she says this: "The hell? How is this?" As she says this: "Now, I will kill you, kill," as she feels something painful behind her, as she falls to the ground, as it's All Might. All Might shoving several vials and several syringes into her back, as the place would start dissipating, being the gas, but for her palace, it also crumbles. As they hear the helicopter arrive, as All Might would say this: "That was the toughest battle I ever..." As, Izumi and All for One would see, All Might would start bleeding from the wound that All for One gave him many years ago. As All for One would say this: "All Might, are you okay?" As he says this: "I'm fine. I just feel emancipated by..." As All for One would say this: "I'm guessing that's one of her clones." As All for One would say this to the helicopter: "Let's go to a hospital immediately. All Might, he seems to be..." As he says this: "Don't worry, I got it." As they started moving to a little hospital in, London. As, Lavenza would appear in front of Narukami, as she would say this: "How are we losing? This is impossible. I thought these quirk users would die by you. I'm guessing we have only one left. Izuku Midoriya, the Knight of Superbia, my family." I swear to God, if he fails, either way, go get some rest. After all, I do care for you as a friend. But for you, my love, Izuku, if you fail, I won't forgive you. And so, this is going to be the end of this episode. So, this is actually a pretty short one in my opinion. Never mind, I saw the recordings like time and, yeah. Either way, I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe, and also don't forget to share this video to some friends if they like, my content or want to see more of my videos. And also, don't forget to, subscribe so you can help me in the algorithm. And I hope you liked the video. Comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!